Like, I guess we should be used to it, or I should. Like, I even have grocery bags to bring to the store, right? But like, now that you can't get plastic bags, I show up, I forget, and then I have to pay 25 cents for the worst bag ever invented, the paper bag, and you need to carry it with two arms, or there's no handles. So it's like you've got two arms around it, like a lonely person with a body pillow. You're walking out of the grocery store and you're just like, "Hey, I should be alone, I guess." Like, I should know, man, to bring a grocery bag. But I can't do it. Like, now that we've got this, one-use plastic bags, you're not allowed anymore. But I'm going to tell you, Adam, I would always use them twice, right? To carry my groceries to my house, and then I would empty the groceries out. I'd put it in a garbage bag, in a garbage can, in the bathroom, and
Yep.
then I would fill it with all the garbage from either my groceries, like the circle of life. And now the government of Canada has taken that away from me. Just nonstop, you know?
Tell me how you really feel,
Right?
Scott.
Anyways, we should start the show, I guess.
All right.
You got me all riled up there.
Sorry about that.
Are we rolling?
Yeah, we're rolling. I hit
We're
record
in. Okay.
well into that.
Well,
Yeah. I'm going to leave
welcome
that in.
everybody. Yes, welcome everybody to the Walk Off. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Scott Belford, joined by my co-host and good buddy Adam Mack. Buddy,
Hello.
good week to be a Jays fan.
Yeah, I wish we could play the Braves every single series.
Man, we are 6-0. Won the season series against them. Swept them. Looking really good. They're 20-16, and the AL East is starting to shake out, isn't it?
It sure is. We're starting to see who's contenders and who's pretenders.
Both Boston, or I should say both Toronto and New York, are at 20-16. Boston's not as hot now that they're not playing Baltimore every second series. So
Isn't
we're
that
one
something
game,
to consider, hey?
right? This is the thing, too. The Blue Jays have yet to play the Tigers. They've yet to play the Orioles, some of these bottom-feeding teams, which we're going to see a lot of them in July and August, which isn't a bad thing, right? All right, man. Let's start with a few teases here. I did wish to bring up who our guest is today because it was a phenomenal chat with this man. We talked to Randall Thompson about a month ago. Now, he is the inventor, an entrepreneur behind Dugout Mugs. So this is it here. We've got ours, Walk Off made, which is very cool that he made these for us.
Very cool.
He was also a professional ball player in the Toronto Blue Jays organization, and he talks some of his bus trips and stuff like that. And then he also gets into just the struggle of starting a business. It's a great interview, and we'll get to that
really
in
cool.
about 30 minutes is where we should be around, I think. Of course, all of our guests are brought to you by YourRate.ca. Darren Brown is the mortgage broker who runs it, obviously a friend of the show. Darren has helped both my brothers and my dad with their mortgage. Interest rates are going up. There are still a few low-rate options available at YourRate.ca. It can all be done online, paperless, and COVID-safe. While we're talking guests, my man, I did want to tease who we chatted with last Tuesday. We're releasing the full interview of Sean Green, two-time All-Star, former Toronto Blue Jay. Of course, he had that massive year with the Jays in 1999 when he won the Silver Slugger, the Gold Glove, hit 42 home runs, 45 RBIs, 45 doubles, 123 RBIs. Just like a ridiculous year. And Adam and I are both in our 30s, so chatting with him was
Pretty cool.
a little bit of a fanboy experience,
Yeah. Yeah, all you teenagers who are growing up loving Bo Bichette right now, Sean Green was our Bo Bichette when we were younger.
He was our Bo Bichette, and our Vladdy was Carlos Delgado, and these were the two studs kind of coming up in the Blue Jays system at the time. And yeah, it was pretty darn cool. Again, that full interview we're going to be releasing Tuesday morning on our YouTube page, so the Walk Off Podcast. Please subscribe to that if you haven't, because then you're never going to miss one of these great interviews that we've wound up lining up. And then we're also going to air the entire interview on our radio show on 365 Sportscast Radio Network, 6 Eastern on Tuesday, which we run that show every Tuesday, 6 Eastern, right before our live stream that we do every Tuesday. Okay, so we're going to talk Blue Jays. We're going to get into Cavan Biggio. He's been looking so much better. We're going to talk this front office. We're going to do a prospect update, and then we're also going to get into what the Houston Astros has done for their minor league system. All right, let's get into it, buddy.
Let's do it.
So, 20-16, this Blue Jays team has looked good and bad at times, but they're really starting to shape around into form. One thing to keep in mind here, the Jays have used 12 starting pitchers in their first 36 games of this year. Think about that. 12 starting pitchers in the first 36 games. Man, the amount of starting pitchers that they used in 2016 when they went to the ALCS. Do you want to just take a guess?
In 2016. So that was
the whole year. The whole year.
Was that the year that we acquired Tulowitzki and Price, or was that the year after?
That was the year after.
Okay, I'm going to guess that we used the whole year
in 162 games.
162 games. There's got to be injuries in there. There's got to be guys that didn't work out. I would say 10 to 15. I'd say 13. Let's say 13.
13? Yeah. 7.
And what are we at now?
We are at 12 in the first 36 games.
Okay, so that's a lot.
That is a lot, man. So this team has kind of been getting by the skin of their teeth.
We do 7 all year.
Isn't that insane?
That seems
what a crazy stat.
Best possible case scenario.
Totally the best possible case scenario.
That means
I think
everybody worked out and you had 2 injuries.
Yeah.
And then even the guys that you called up to cover.
Even.
Yeah, our spot starts. Wow.
Like, it's crazy. We used up all of our pitching luck in 2016 is basically how that plays out.
Yeah.
But, again, you look at this team's record. You look at how they're heating up. You look at how the offense is starting to come together here. Marcus Simeon has been fantastic over the last 15, 16 games. I think he's hitting over 350 in that time. Biggio is starting to put his game together. Like, we were texting back and forth during yesterday afternoon's game where they completed the sweep against Atlanta. And both of us were like, this looks like Cavan Biggio from last year. This looks like a guy who forces 3 full counts, takes 2 walks, and gets a very important double.
Yeah.
Cavan was phenomenal yesterday. And
he's figured out the strike zone. His hand is healthy.
And that's another thing, right? And we were talking about this with Arden Zwelling, and he mentioned that Cavan missed time in spring training because of a hand injury, and then he missed a couple games. Remember when he took that hot shot at third off his hand?
Yeah.
So maybe it's possible that it's just been like a nagging pinky injury, and he's refused to kind of go on the DL, but he can't really get his game together because, man, this series against Atlanta, he really did look good.
Yeah. He's
taking walks again. One little stat here. This is going to be a stat-heavy show. I got a bunch of fun little stats, but one stat about Cavan Biggio, he was an on-base percentage 3 weeks ago of 260, which is terrible because he normally averages around 360 to 370. On-base percentage is one of his big advantages to him being in the lineup, right? He takes a lot of pitches and he takes a lot of walks. Well, he has got that on-base percentage up to 330 now, so he's really climbing. You're just seeing how much better he's seeing the game or seeing the ball in the last 3 weeks. And last thing about yesterday's game before we kind of move on, because I do wish to do a prospect update here. You saw Vladdy imitating Romano at the end of the game. I know it's kind of gone viral.
Who hasn't seen it at this point? It's amazing.
It's so fun, man. Of course, we all are well aware of the Markham Madman, Jordan Romano, and his little deep squat he does before every pitch. Well, Vladdy, of course, having the fun that Vladdy has, he was just imitating him before every pitch while he was out there. And he did it like 10, 12 times, like every time Jordan threw a pitch.
Yeah.
Vladdy was there doing it. Very funny stuff. Entertaining.
Very good.
So, my man, I don't know if you saw or not, but the Baseball America put out their brand new top 100 prospects in baseball.
I have not seen this.
7 Blue Jays are on that list.
Really?
7 Blue Jays are on that list. So Austin Martin, Nate Pearson, Jordan Groshans, Simeon Woods Richardson, Captain Kirk, Aroldis Martinez, and Alek Manoah
Wow.
have all broken the top 100. And what's hilarious is Gabriel Moreno is just on the outside of that and has been the hottest guy in AA. Gabriel Moreno has hit, let me see if I can dig this up real quick here.
So 7 out of 100, and that's across 30 teams, right? So like on average, it should be like 3 to 3.5 prospects per team would be an even distribution. So we have basically double what the average should be. That's pretty impressive.
So Moreno is hitting 500 since the start of the AA season.
Wow.
He has 3 home runs, an on-base percentage of 600, just under 600. And he's making all sorts of noise with his bat. And I guess he calls a good game. So that's very exciting. Alek Manoah is firing this year. He had that big opening day in Buffalo where he went 6 innings and struck out 10 or something like that. And everyone's
12.
like, "Comp?"
Yeah.
12, right.
12 and 6
Everyone's,
innings. So
everyone's like,
two out of 3 outs was a strikeout, which is unreal.
Just dominant. And everyone said, "Calm down. It's the first game of AAA. Let's not go overboard here." So Ross.
Well, not
Atkins,
everyone. Half the people were saying that. The other half were saying, "Get them up."
Yeah, exactly. Which has been kind of the two sides for the last 3 months.
Yeah.
And I know we've been on the side of calm down, right? We're starting to slowly move to the other side though, because my goodness, Manoah's last start, Ross Atkins was in attendance. And this was after his opening day start of 12 strikeouts. He pitched a no-hitter into the 6th inning. He gave up 1 hit in 6.2 innings. Like, it's just insane. And as if that is not enough, Simeon Woods Richardson at AA has also been just completely and totally dominant. So last time Woods Richardson pitched with the Fisher Cats, he struck out 8 over 5 innings, 2 walks, 1 hit, 1 run allowed, 78 pitches. So one last update on our prospects here before I get into this front office and what's going on with the prospects. So Josh Palacio, friend of the show, right. Josh Palacios is unfortunately injured. It looks like he is going to miss the next 6 to 8 weeks, which is really too bad for the kid because he got his first sniff of the big leagues there when Springer was out and then Teoscar had to go on the COVID IL. He played very well. Had about a 280 average. He was doing everything the Blue Jays asked of him, laying down bunks, running the bases very well. So that's too bad for him. This AA team is a really interesting little experiment going on in this system, man. And the Jays have already done this once. So we go back to 2018, and that's the new Fisher Hampshire Cat team.
The New Hampshire Fisher Cats. You do this all the time.
Man, I cannot get that. The New Hampshire Fisher Cats. I want to say Fisher first for some reason. Yeah. I should just say the Fisher Cats. So the Fisher Cats in 2018, they won the AA championship. And that was with Bo Bichette. Cavan Biggio won Player of the Year that year in 2018. That was with Vlad Guerrero, Nate Pearson. That was with Jordan Romano. Travis Bergen was on that team. And now look at who is driving this Blue Jays team currently. It's that core from the Fisher Cats. Well, Jays management is doing this all over again. You look at that Fisher Cats team, and they are trying to create a chemistry amongst them as they come up the system together. Because right now you've got Austin Martin there. You've got Jordan Groshans. You have Simeon Woods Richardson there. You've got Gabriel Moreno. Okay. You've got guys like Brody Rudning in the bullpen that could replicate Jordan Romano. You know, like they have got a phenomenal core of prospects in New Hampshire, and they're going to be the next layer of this Jays team as things go on, which is very exciting, man. This is how you build a perennial contender.
Contender for sure.
Is they can go out and sign a George Springer for $150 million, and that is going to be recouped on the prospect end of things when they're paying Austin Martin $800,000 league minimum when he first comes up next year, right? So,
well, and they'll get to do that for a few years with him too. So,
for a few years,
when he's winning a Silver Slugger for less than $1 million, you can afford to have a big money free agent.
So this is my question to you, my man. If Alek Manoah actually winds up in the next 2 starts continuing to dominate at AAA, and let's say the Jays actually, before everyone expected, bring him up at the beginning of June. Now, follow me here.
Okay.
Let's say he works out. I'm not even saying is a superstar and dominates. I say he slides into that number 3 spot in this rotation and provides innings and breaks up the lefties. And now the Jays only need to go out at the trade deadline and get 1 stud pitcher. Simeon Woods Richardson all of a sudden slides in to the AAA rotation.
Okay.
Do we need to get on our hands and knees and say we are not worthy to this front office in Wayne's World style? You know, like, because if this is the case and they actually were able to evaluate the talent of this pitching core in the minors and didn't give up a bunch of prospects in this offseason despite the fan base yelling their face off, didn't go out and sign and use a bunch of money on a starting pitcher when this fan base was screaming their face off to do so, and a lot of pundits around baseball were questioning it. Like, if this actually works out, that they weren't just being cheap, not going to get a starting pitcher, but they were actually just creating room for a guy they figured could take that spot. And then we still have Nate Pearson in AAA being ready to be called up once he finds his game. Like, how much credit do we need to give this front office? Because at this point, I'm starting to buy into the fact that maybe we didn't need starting pitching. Like, am I going insane here?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it is a great young core. It's so exciting to think. Like, when we all were getting excited about Bo and Vladdy, and even Nate Pearson was kind of involved in that conversation. Like, we were pretty confident once those two were at AAA and Nate Pearson was in the system. Like, if Nate works out, because it looks like these two are going to be pretty rock solid for us, we're like, we might have a playoff window of like 6-7 years here.
Yeah.
And now, like, when you look at it and you're like, yeah, you got Martin, Groshans, Simeon Woods. I can't get his name right. What is it?
Simeon Woods Richardson.
New Fisher Hamtercats.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh no, this window might be 10 to 12 years long.
Like, what this really sets them up to do is make a big offer to a Vladdy or a Bo, and if it's turned down, they've got guys pushing them coming up from the minors. And I'm not saying I'd like to see Bo Bichette walk in 2025, but it does allow the Jays to say, no, we're not going to pay you $360 million over 10 years.
It does give them a little leverage.
Yes.
It does give them a little leverage.
When we've got Austin Martin. And that's the thing. They're playing both those guys at shortstop still. They're still getting their shortstop reps with Groshans and Martin. Well, and yes, they're working them in center field and third base as well, but
so Martin's 22, Groshans is 21. You also mentioned Elvis Martinez is one of the top 100 prospects. Guess what position he plays? Shortstop. So, I mean, I don't think all three of those guys make it to the Blue Jays.
No.
I think one of them is going to be a trade piece.
I agree. Probably one of them has to be. And I think if this team continues to come together like they are right now, that we could see the Jays go out and give up some actual prospect capital to bring in a Max Scherzer. Obviously, I'm just using that as an example, but to go out and get a stud pitcher for this playoff run.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? Maybe like these sort of conversations don't just apply to this year. I know we've talked about Kris Bryant as a trade rental,
Yeah.
right? He's last year his contract going into free agency. Whether or not they're ready to do that this year, it's the same sort of like there will be someone in a similar situation, short like half a season left on their contract before free agency, that maybe when we are closer to being a contender is worth sending out one of those
Yeah.
prospects to go and get that final piece that takes us from playoff berth to legitimate World Series contender. So it's a
It's
good
exciting
problem
times, man.
to have
Yeah.
three amazing shortstops in the system.
It's wild.
One thing with Alek Manoah, I don't think he'll get called up before the late portion of June. I know there's basically two dates that are important when it comes to service time manipulation. One is like the third week of April, and that obviously extends the point at which free agency happens by a full season,
Right?
right? The second date to be aware of is, I believe it's the third week of June, is the cutoff. It doesn't add a year to free agency, but it does add a pre-arbitration year. So instead of having a player for 3 years and then having to go to arbitration, you get him for 4 years before he goes to arbitration. So
So
that
it
can be
does
the
save
difference
them some money.
between
Absolutely.
$400,000 in salary and a
4
few
million.
million. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if
No, it's
we're
a very
I,
good
it
point.
just if we're talking about like a 2 week, like, start of June, he continues, he's 6-0 and has an ERA under 1, like, and it's just like this guy needs to be up here. I just think it would be crazy to not wait 2 more weeks if it's gonna save us $4 million 3 years from now. Like,
And
I don't know.
this front office is very concerned about stuff like that. So you make a very good point. I hadn't even thought of that.
Funny thing is though, with the CBA negotiations coming up, this all might be a moot point. Like that might
Which is
be
very true.
something that
Which is
just gets
very true.
wiped
And so
out.
they may just look at this and go like, you know what? Let's roll the dice and bring them up.
Yeah.
Now, honestly, dude, 2 weeks ago, both you and I were like, there's no way Manoah comes up before late August. And even then, it's probably in a bullpen role. It's crazy to me how that opinion has changed. And it's changed right across the board for most pundits.
Yep.
Like he just mowed through those AAA starts like a hot knife through butter. Like it was just incredible. And we're talking strikeouts and we're talking swing and miss strikeouts.
So one other thing to mention with Alek Manoah is he did go the college route. He's not a 20-year-old,
No.
right? He's not Simeon Woods Richardson, who is 20. He's Nate Pearson's 24, Manoah's 23, so very basically the same age. He also dominated in spring training.
He did.
So I know it's
Against
just
major
spring
league
training,
hitters.
but yeah, when he goes against the Yankees and he's mowing down Stanton and Judge, like that's still a factor.
100%. And I'm kind of at the point where I'd like to see him in a big league uniform. I think that the worst case scenario is what they've just done to Pearson, which is he struggles out of the gate and he needs to go down and work on his game.
Yeah.
But if like there is a strong sentiment these days amongst pitching coaches that you don't want to waste bullets in the minor league. Like arms get injured.
Yeah.
And so why let Manoah blow through AAA hitters? Because you don't know when he's going to get injured.
No, that's a great point.
So it'll be really interesting to see what this Blue Jays front office decides to do with Alek Manoah. Exciting stuff for Blue Jays fans, especially when you look at this team that's 20-16, 4 games above 500.
The bats are starting to hit, man. Teoscar's figured it out. Cavan maybe's
looks
figured
like
it
his
out.
game's coming together.
Danny
Simeon has
Jansen.
figured it out big time. Jansen's looking better. Reese McGuire is in a black hole in that backup catcher role. Yeah, man. The offense is coming alive a little bit.
And I know we said it right off the top of the show. We haven't had an easy schedule, but we haven't had the same difficulty that the Red Sox and Yankees have had. Each of them have played the Orioles. I think the Red Sox have played them 10 times.
Yeah,
The Yankees have played them 7 times. Like, this is the worst team in the AL East. We've yet to play them.
Mm-hmm.
And we are still second in the AL East. I think we're a game and a half back of the Red Sox right now.
Mm-hmm.
So after we kind of split the series against Oakland, I was feeling a little bit bummed out because I didn't think Oakland was very good. I thought their record was a little bit inflated. I thought they got hot
be for real.
or whatever.
Yeah.
They might be for real. I mean, they just took 2 out of 3 against the Red Sox, which helps us out.
Yes.
So, I mean, now that 2-2 split doesn't feel so bad.
Agreed. And you know what, man? When we are talking about the offense on this team, I know we have been touting this pitching all along, but the pitching has been pretty much mind-blowing. Like, here's a little stat about Robbie Ray. He has 33 strikeouts and 1 walk in his last 4 starts. And he led MLB with 45 walks in 2020 last year. You know, like, this feels fairly substantial.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a big improvement.
Yeah.
And Ray is locating his fastball. He's throwing faster than he has ever thrown in his entire major league career. He's 29 years old, and he looks like he has found whatever it was that was messing with his control, because he is locating pitches.
And let's say this. It's the middle of May. It's May 14th as we record this morning. We are quickly approaching the point at which we can no longer say it's still early.
We're almost at the 25% of the season.
Yeah, like, we are almost 2 months into the season. You know, another week or two. You know, that's 1 or 2 more starts for each of these guys. And you start to go, okay, maybe this is for real. You know, the sample size starts to get big enough. Right? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling better and better about this Jays team. You know,
and
than I
their
did 3 weeks
injury
ago.
problems. I do too, man. I do too. And we said this on Tuesday. You know what would make me feel a lot better about this team? A 6-game win streak. And here we are with 3 wins in Atlanta. I'm not saying that they're going to sweep Philadelphia. I just mean putting some wins together does give you a little bit of confidence that this team is headed in the right direction. So let's do a quick little injury update here for everybody. Injuries to Hatch and Springer is something that Montoya touched on. And I've got it right here. So Thomas Hatch, elbow, is scheduled to throw 2 to 3 innings in a simulation game in Dunedin on this upcoming Thursday.
Okay.
Thomas Hatch, if he does it without any pain in his elbow, is on his way to returning to this team. He's a guy that they're going to build up as a starter. And he's probably going to get some innings in AAA is my guess. He'll probably get some rehab starts there. But I think this is a guy that also we could be on the look for him come mid-June-ish.
Is he a name that gets you excited?
I really thought Thomas Hatch had a phenomenal year last year.
You almost said yesteryear.
Yeah, yesteryear.
You're so fancy.
Yeah, yesteryear with the new Fisher Hampshire Cats.
And Simeon's Richardson Wood. All right, let's leave that. You go ahead.
I like Thomas Hatch. I think he could be a very good starting pitcher. If he doesn't, he profiles as a fantastic bullpen arm. I know he did that last year and was a godsend out of that bullpen. So, yeah, I'm excited to have Thomas Hatch back. Is he the answer in this starting rotation? I would be surprised, but he may be. So, it would be nice to get him back. George Springer, his quad continues to take his quad is still an issue, but he continues to take batting practice. And he has started running. Actually, last night I think he was running. So, again, They're not going to rush Springer back by any means. And as this offense heats up, there's no need to do so. But my goodness, when he returns, having that bat at the top of that order, wow. It's nice to
Man,
dream about.
hot take, but I'm tempted to say we're going to see Alek Manoah before we see George Springer.
Interesting.
Not quite ready to say that
Yeah,
yet, but
I know. I don't like hearing that, but you may be right. Rafael Dolis is expected to throw a bullpen session today. He, of course, instrumental part of this bullpen, and hopefully he's not going to miss much time. Hopefully they don't even need to worry about building his arm back up, that this is just a little bit of rest, and he can come back and step into the back end of this bullpen, because he was phenomenal. Yeah. He was just a godsend again. Like, I keep using that term, but there's just guys who have really picked up the reins during these injuries, and he was one of those guys. So it would be nice to get him back in the bullpen. Prospect Patrick Murphy, who just seems to be constantly injured, threw 18 pitches on Tuesday and is expected to throw another bullpen session later in the week as his shoulder rehab continues. Anthony Castro is expected to throw a bullpen session this weekend. Of course, he has tightness in his forearm. He was another guy who was very instrumental in the bullpen when all the injuries happened, and then he got injured himself. So there's where we're at on our injury front. Man, just going through it all, it's like, oh, I forgot how many people are injured on this team.
I know, it's wild.
Did you have anything else to add Blue Jays wise before we move on?
No, I think that pretty much covers it.
Okay.
Yeah, Cavan Biggio. I know you had mentioned a trade idea that I did not like at all.
Okay, I love that. Okay, so this is a hypothetical. I like that we're doing this. Hypothetical scenario, and this one was tossed around Blue Jays Twitter a bunch over the last few days. So for all of you out there listening, and for you, Adam.
Yes.
Cavan Biggio, would you trade straight across for Kris Bryant?
I hate that I'm even considering it, but I don't think I would.
No, I don't think I would either. And there's a lot of people out there who think we're absolutely insane for not doing it. But my goodness, I mean, what terrible asset management that would be to make that trade. Yeah. Basically, what people are saying is they would rather 3 months of Kris Bryant over 4 years of Cavan Biggio. I don't even see how that's a question. Like, I personally...
Well, I mean, there's no guarantee that it's just 3 months of Kris Bryant. Like, if
that's
it's...
true.
It would be 3 months of Kris Bryant with a serious effort to sign him long term, a la Francisco Lindor.
Yes.
Right? When the Mets traded for Lindor, it was the same situation, right? Mm-hmm. The intention was we sign him long term, and they did.
Mm-hmm.
If that's, I mean, as a pure rental, I hate it 100%. Yeah. If we're gonna get him for 3-4 years, like to kind of line up with the George Springer contract, then I mean, then we have a consideration. But I really have to think about where everybody fits in the lineup from there. I don't know. I don't like it though. At face value, it puts a weird taste in my mouth. No, I don't really like
it either. But it's an interesting little hypothetical.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the MLB.
The last thing we wish to touch on before we throw to Randall Thompson, our guest for today, is the fact that the Houston Astros, for a change, are doing something that they should be commended for.
Yes.
They are going to be providing furnished housing for all of their minor league affiliates. All 4 of them, right from the Gulf Coast League and Low A all the way up to AAA, which is such a huge step forward for these minor league ball players. These are guys that you need to remember are making their living off of baseball, and it is a terrible living, especially in A and AA.
Yeah.
And especially if you don't get a sniff of the majors. Like, there's some AAA guys that are doing all right because they've been called up once, and as soon as that happens, you start to make a little bit of money. They call it having your cup of coffee, right?
Right.
So as soon as you have your cup of coffee in the big leagues, you're making a little bit more money. But man, I know every minor league guy we have talked to, some of their biggest concerns has been lodging, finding a place, living with 2 or 3 roommates, right? 2 or 3 guys on the team, because you're making $1,500 a month. So you're trying to keep your costs as low as possible and eliminating that. And this is the thing too. I guarantee when it comes to these Houston teams, it's not like it's costing the Astros a ton of money. In fact, if anything, it's probably real estate investment. Like they're probably buying some apartment buildings that are just going to gain value. And why this has been something that no other team has done yet is beyond me. However, what a huge step forward. And it's like when the Blue Jays came out in 2000, when was it that they gave all of their minor leaguers a 50% increase? Do you remember?
I don't remember that.
It doesn't matter. But
the year.
As soon as the Jays did that, dozens of teams across the league followed suit.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see the exact same thing here in minor league ball with a lot of these organizations. They're going to follow the Astros footprint and provide furnished apartments for their players, which,
well, it just makes sense from a standpoint of like, I want my prospects to pan out.
yes,
Like, why would I want if I've got Austin Martin or I've got whoever my prospect is that, like, I would love to one day have them be good enough to help us win a World Series, why would I want them to be eating Kraft dinner and Mr. Noodles?
yes.
Like,
Why would I wish them stressing about making rent?
yeah, especially like you said, if you're just buying a couple apartment buildings, that, like, worst case scenario, real estate just goes up.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see the downside to it. I don't know why this hasn't happened before.
Hasn't happened before. It's actually kind of insane.
Yeah.
And you know what? Baseball, I mean, let's face it, sports in general, there's such a huge mental aspect to the game, right? So if you can take some of these concerns off these players' plates so that they're only worried about baseball, which there's still plenty to concern yourself with there, you know, it's such a huge thing to do for these players. And I think it gives Houston a little bit of an advantage right now, too, until other teams follow suit, because, of course, minor leaguers are going to be like, my goodness, if I don't need to worry about the $600 a month rent, it's going to be like a 20% to a 50% pay increase.
Yeah. Well, and then another layer of, like, why this benefits the team. And I'm just saying this so that, like, more teams follow suit, because I know a lot of GMs and owners listen to this podcast. But, like, just in terms of, like, keeping your guys out of trouble,
You know where they are.
not every organization has that problem. I know we've joked about this before with the Blue Jays. You know, every prospect we've talked to is like, yeah, how about Friday night? I'm free Friday night, because they aren't going out partying, right? They are talking ball. But, like, yeah, nobody's gonna be getting into any sort of shenanigans when their home base is, like, under company eye, right? Like,
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly,
oh yeah,
man.
did you see the third baseman got home at 4 a.m. last night? Like, I don't know. It's just, yeah.
It's encouraging, man. I know
good.
we've talked.
It's a step in the
we've
right
talked-
direction.
We've talked to so many of these guys in the Jays system, and your heart feels for them, man, when they're stressing about, talking about pooling their money so that they can go out for wings.
Yeah.
We each get 3 wings. Like, it's crazy, but it's really good to see Houston stepping up and doing so, and I really hope the Jays follow suit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Honestly, always appreciate it. This walk-off community that we are slowly building is just very exciting and very cool. Yes. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you get a chance. It's a very helpful tool for us, even to just get better guests, which we are going to be airing the Sean Green interview again on Tuesday. You can keep your eye out for that. Walk Off Podcast, at Walk Off Podcast on Twitter, the Walk Off Podcast on Instagram. And, of course, we run our radio show on 365 Sportscast Radio Network every single Tuesday at 6 Eastern Time. Again, everybody, thank you so much for listening. All the best, and we'll see you on Tuesday.
Go Jays, go.